Hello and welcome to the channel. Today we'll be discussing the 10 worst things to buy in your 20s and early 30s. It's important to make smart financial decisions during this early decade to set yourself up for long-term financial success, because these decisions you make now will put you on a trajectory to either having a lot of money down the road or no money or even in debt. Let's focus on the things that can really make an impact. We're not going to talk about not buying the $5 latte or skipping lunch with friends and going out on the weekends, because that's important. It's important to build relationships. Let's talk about the things that will give you the biggest bang for your buck, that will fill the biggest hole in your boat. And I've made a lot of these mistakes. That's why they're on the list. I am nearly 50, so I've been saving and investing and earning for over 30 years. And I've seen how these decisions have affected my life. And as a former financial planner, I've sat with hundreds of people to talk about their finances, and I can see how it has affected their finances as well. So let's get to the list. Number one is don't buy a brand new car. I know it's tempting. We all love that new car smell, except for my wife. She hates it for some reason. And it's just so fun to drive a brand new car. Everything is pristine. And I didn't give into it until just recently, a few years ago. I bought a brand new car, and my wife and I immediately regretted it after driving off the lot, because we knew that $50,000 car was immediately worth about $42,000 after we drove it off the lot, and it continues to depreciate. So consider instead buying a used car or taking public transportation if you are in an area where you can do that. Number two, high-end luxury goods and jewelry. Splurging on jewelry in your 20s may not be the best decision, because the jewelry doesn't generally hold its value or appreciate. If you want jewelry that appreciates, you need quality jewelry that probably isn't sold in most jewelry stores. You need to really specialize and really find out what jewelry will appreciate. So instead, put that money into an investment, something that is going to actually generate money for you. There's a reason why the richest person in the world currently is the owner of LVMH, the maker of luxury goods and handbags and things like that are expensive, because people love to buy them and it doesn't cost a whole lot of money to make. That's why LVMH just recently became worth $500 billion, the first European company on the European stock market to be worth $500 billion. Number three is a large, expensive home. There's some debate whether a home at any age is an investment or not. But as you're young and mobile and may not be living in the same city for very long, and you might end up moving across the country for a job or for college or graduate school, it's uncertain. So buying an expensive home, is probably not a great decision, especially considering that if you sell the home in the first few years, you're going to lose money because of all the transaction costs that go along with it. Number four is expensive, trendy fashion. Years ago, somebody convinced me to buy $180 jeans because that was the trend. I think maybe it still is now. And the next year, they were out of fashion, and I was stuck with these $180 jeans. That's the problem with expensive, trendy fashion, is you buy it, and then it's no longer fashionable. Who cares if you are wearing a company's logo on your shirt? That's partly what makes those clothes so expensive, is they've got logos all over them. Are you a spokesperson for the company? Are you getting paid to wear their clothes? I doubt it. And also, wealthy people don't flash their wealth. It's silent wealth. They invest it. They have their money in assets that are generating them more money, not in clothes and cars and houses that is costing them money. And number five, high interest credit card debt. Accumulating credit card debt with high interest that you're not paying off every month can make your life more difficult, because you're spending more money on the interest and you're not putting that money into investments, and that compounds over time. Just like your investments can compound for you, your interest rate on a credit card can compound against you, because that's money that you're paying instead of receiving. So if you want to be somebody that is receiving money instead of paying money, then avoid having interest on a credit card, especially one with high interest. And also, it can be detrimental to your credit score if you keep a balance. If you keep a balance over about 30%, then that can be detrimental to your credit score. So make sure that you pay it off every month, and at the very least, pay off 70% of it every month. Number 6 is timeshares. Those can be expensive and, most importantly, difficult to get out of. You buy a timeshare in Hawaii, you are pretty much locked into going once or twice a year to make it worth it. What happens if after 5 or 6 years you don't want to go to Hawaii anymore? The novelty has worn off. It's far away, it's expensive, it takes time. Then it's difficult to get out of those timeshares without losing a lot of money. Number 7 is weddings. Everybody loves a good wedding, especially the girls. They love having the dress and having all the pomp and circumstance, but weddings can be expensive. They don't have to be, so consider doing a scaled down wedding and taking money that you didn't spend on a wedding and putting it into an investment. I spent a lot of money on my wedding, and I think back about how much that money would be worth now if I would have taken just half of that and put it into an index fund and just let it ride. That would have set us up on the right path starting our marriage off if we would have put more money into investments from the very start. Number 8 is expensive vacations. I love taking vacations. I've traveled to over 50 countries. I've lived in a half a dozen countries, and I love it. I love a nice hotel, but it can not be worth it if you are young, spending a lot of money on vacations. If you are going to take a vacation, especially an expensive one, I recommend saving up for it in advance and paying for it in advance, because it decreases the stress. You're not stressed about spending money during the vacation, and it can be cheaper because if you book things in advance, pay things in advance, then oftentimes you can get a discount and you're not having to pay for it after the vacation. There's nothing more depressing with vacations is going on a vacation, spending a lot of money, being stressed out about all the money you're spending, and then putting on a credit card and then paying for it for the next 6 months. Do it the reverse. Save for 6 months and then go on the vacation. Number 9 is taking out personal loans. Consider the interest you're paying on the loans and the fees associated with it, especially if you're borrowing from family and friends. That can get really, really sticky. And especially if you're borrowing money, maybe an SBA loan or from a rich uncle, to start a company. Most companies fail, and entrepreneurs, me being one of them, we always think that our idea is the best and we're going to succeed and there's no way we could fail. So we feel fine about going and borrowing money from a bank, and then when the company fails, we're stuck with a loan. That's how I got myself into $200,000 of debt. Not entirely from that, but partially. And it took years and years to dig that out. I was able to dig out, my wife and I dug out paying off that debt, paying off other debts. It took a couple of years, and then we continued to save and invest, and we're able to reach financial independence. So if you've got debt from a personal loan or student loans or high credit card debt, it is possible to dig out of that. And the sooner you do it, the better. So set a date, crunch the numbers, do the math, and set a date of when you can get out of debt. Because the sooner you get out of debt, the faster you are on a trajectory to building towards financial independence and being able to retire early if you'd like to. Lastly is investing in volatile or high-risk stocks or crypto. Just don't do it. And if you do, set aside just a portion of your portfolio. Keep in mind asset allocation, and keep in mind that high-risk, high-reward stocks or crypto can be worth it, but if you can also lose everything, and you don't want to go all in, because you can also lose everything and be all out. And then when the bull market comes back, you don't have any money invested. So be patient and consider asset allocation and putting a certain amount of money in the high risk, high reward if you would like to, but most money into fairly conservative because you don't want to lose money. The number one rule of investing, according to Warren Buffett, who knows what he's talking about, is don't lose money. Rule number 2 is refer to rule number 1. And he also said that the stock market is a divide for transferring money from the impatient to the patient. So if you can be patient to get maybe just regular 8 to 10% returns in the stock market and be patient over years and years, that will compound. And 8% is actually a very good return. So don't get anxious to build wealth quickly, going for the quick buck. Go slow and steady and be patient, because that's statistically, and according to Uncle Warren Buffett, that's how you build wealth. So not spending money on things you don't need, things you can't afford, just to be flashy, to make sure that you have money to invest in yourself, maybe invest in a business, and invest in your education. So there you have it, 10 of the worst things you can buy in your 20s from my experience and also research. Remember that making smart financial decisions during this decade will set you up for financial success down the road. So if this video was informative, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And if you have anything that you think should be added to the list or some things you think shouldn't be on the list, then comment down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what are the worst things you can spend your money on.